over Doug Stanford from Meadville, and that's going to set the team score at 6-6, all tied up. And John, we're going into the 119-pound weight.
Okay, Richard, at 119 from Catasaqua, Matt Gerhard going against Ken Chertow of West Virginia. That's almost a backdoor rivalry here at 119. I'd like to thank Coach Cole for stopping by and giving us some opinions and comments. He certainly earned the right to do that, as he's got some of those national championship titles to boast about.
John, at the 119-pound weight class, this is the one of West Virginia's best ever for the 119-pound entry. Ken Chertow from Huntington has 100 wins and 2 losses. He won the state title and was named outstanding wrestler the last 2 years. Now his opponent, Catasaqua, Matt Gerhard, is currently only the 4th Pennsylvania wrestler to ever win 4 state titles, and he has 127 wins and 3 losses. And he put on quite a show for us last week at Rec Hall at Penn State University, going against the Challenger champ. What a duck under, right into actually a bear hug, into a hip toss, down to the side, and that's good for 2 points.
There'll be a lot of pride in taking somebody down like Ken Chertow, Richard.
You hit the key, John, and that is pride. As we've mentioned earlier several times, these wrestlers have really run the gamut. They have cut weight for about a 9-month period. They have wrestled, and they still look like they could go out and do a whole new season.
Another thing about this, Richard, this is like a springboard into the big time, the NCAA wrestling. You can go in there as a freshman like Wade Chalice and win a national championship. But when you get out there and you're wrestling colleges with the caliber of Lehigh, Oklahoma State, Iowa, Penn State, Pittsburgh, Bloomsburg, and all these many other fine colleges, you're wrestling the same type of person as these guys are out there. You're wrestling the very best wrestlers in the country because they've been recruited and they've gone out to these schools that have the big wrestling program. So this is a great experience for these seniors to get involved in this big-time, high-powered wrestling where you don't have too many fishes out there.
That's right, John, and you're just not going to see another broadcast that puts some of the best wrestling talent in the United States together like the Pittsburgh Press Old Newsboys Classic does. As Gene Bowman mentioned in the beginning of the program, for those that might have tuned in late, this is the proceeds of all this go to the Pittsburgh Children's Hospital, and these are young boys and girls, John, that can't even get out of a bed or a wheelchair, let alone get on a wrestling mat. And so this is really for
a super job of controlling that leg of Ken Chertow to maintain that 2-point lead. We're going to start the second period now with just that as the score, 2-0.
John, there's a couple little facts we have on the Wrestling Classic in the past 10 years. The fastest fall was 50 seconds by Bob Weaver at 98 pounds from Easton, Illinois. And the most falls for a team, Pennsylvania had 4 in the 4th Classic. That would have been 5 years ago, if my math's correct. And the most falls in the Classic overall were in the 4th one, and that was a total of 5. And the least amount of falls was in the 7th Classic. We didn't have any.
Well, we've got one already here at 98 with Martin pinning Sanchez, and here in the 4th bout of 12, we may see more pins before the dust settles here. Minute 31 to go in the second period. You saw the escape. Gerhard leading 3-0. And they're going to make sure that they get him dried off just a little bit.
Boy, that's important, John, because, you know, you go out there and wrestle and you start sweating. Now, you can get a hold of a fellow that starts to sweat, and he is as slippery as an eel, and it just throws your whole offense off. It's kind of like playing football in the rain, except there the football's wet for both teams. Here, one wrestler might be sweating and the other might not be.
Well, you're seeing 2 of the finest right there at 119 pounds for this calendar year of 1984 in the United States.
John, one more word on the old Newsboys and what they're trying to do is really amazing. They raised $2.3 million last year with KDKA radio and TV, and this money goes a real long way in helping these children in these hospitals. And so you're watching the best wrestling in the United States, but it's for a good cause, and it's not just a bunch of egotistical high school athletes out here trying to show off their talents, John. They're here for a purpose, and as Gene Bowman said, they realize that they're putting on a performance and quite a benefit for young children. Boy, we got a bounce here, John. I felt that from where I was safe. But I'll tell you, even the force of coming down with a weight on your head like that, if you continue to wrestle, lots of times you'll wrestle for 10, 15, 20 seconds and not even know who you are or what you're doing, and it takes a while for you to recover. But that's when, as a well-trained wrestler, your body's senses you have to take over and give your mind a chance to catch up.
Well, Richard, I've seen people knocked out with an 8-ounce boxing glove on the end of a good punch. And when you hit that floor, you're getting about 15 to 20 times the impact of an 8-ounce boxing glove in the snoot. 27 seconds to go in the second period, still 3-2. Chertow on top with 2 points. Gerhard on the bottom with 3.
John, it's too bad we can't get a videotape. Well, there's an escape by Gerhard. Very quick, good hand control, hips away. That's how you have to do it. Makes it 4-2. Gerhard ahead. I was going to say, John, it's too bad we don't have a videotape segment of Bill Cole and his wrestling stories from the last 40 years. He's quite the storyteller. John, you were talking that, you know, any wrestler that's gone through just one season, let alone the tournament trail itself, it's a hard season. You're talking about on the average a 2-hour practice after school every day, and on the weekends you'd usually have a little homework assignment of doing maybe some weights and some running, all the time trying to get your studies in. Not only is it physically demanding, John, but it can mentally be draining, depressing, down, cutting weight, not being able to eat, staying home on weekends, watching your friends go out.
This is like playing 5 Super Bowls in a row.
Now there's an escape, and that's going to make the score 4-3. Gerhard senses that he no longer has a 4-point lead, and he's going to have to come into some offense here. He can't be nursing his injuries. Not that he would, John, but his mind has to be thinking of offense right now.
Well, he's got 1 minute and 39 seconds to go to protect that 1-point lead and maybe be aggressive enough to pad it.
He's got an overhook going for forearm wrist control. Could be setting up a high crotch or a fireman's. He has what they would call a little sugar foot, John, where you get that front lead leg out there. And now we got Chertow trying to mix it up a little bit. John, sometimes you'll see a wrestler come in and just deliberately bear hug or do a very off-the-wall move just to open up the opponent, just to try and make something happen because he's behind by 1. There's a minute left in the third period, and he's got to get a takedown to go ahead. Gerhard off the mat.
The combined records of these two wrestlers, Richard, are 227 wins against just 3 defeats.
Oh, well, there's going to be a 4th one here, and we don't know who it's going to be with 50 seconds left.
That's why their arms are so big. They've been raised so many times in victory to develop those muscles.
Right. Gerhard going from a bear hug into a whizzer, trying to follow through.
He's got 47 seconds left and still a 1-point lead.
Now, it's important now to watch. Let's take a look at the strategy, John, of Gerhard. Will he protect the lead or will he go out and try and get another 2 points? You know, this is a strategy you have to think of. With 40 seconds left, so far he's defending. And Chertow, you can see, knows he has to do something different. He's trying to get in under, do maybe a bear hug into a far cross ankle pick. And Gerhard hasn't shot in about the last 20 seconds. 29 seconds left. Gerhard with a 1-point lead. Gerhard in the left of your screen in the blue singlet. And he's hurting, John. He's limping. He's been knocked 3 or 4 times in this bout, but he's still not finished.
Well, we've said this many times, Richard. You have to beat your opponent, but you also have to beat everything else. You've got to beat the injuries, beat the whistle, beat the clock, beat the crowd, beat the cold, beat anything.
John, he just got a stall warning, and we knew that was coming. Gerhard now, with 15 seconds left, he has to shoot or he's going to get a tie just from a penalty point.
He's leading 4-3 with 15 seconds to go in the final period. As long as he's aggressive like he's doing, he's not going to get penalized.
Good strategy. Just make one good attempt with 8 seconds. The worst that can happen, John, is you can get the takedown. 3 seconds, spinning, moving. Chertow goes down like a champion. And even when it's over, poor Matt Gerhard, even with 1 second left, he gets his head bounced off the floor for the 4th time. John, do you think he's going to take a week or so off after this?
Well, he should, if nothing else. That's a good match between 2 excellent wrestlers, and the only winner, actually there is no loser in that, Richard. The winner is the sport of wrestling and all these children that this classic tournament is being put together for. That's good, fine wrestling any way you slice it.
Good example of being in condition.